This is Gideon Fidelzeid, Managing Editor of PRWeek magazine. I'm joined today by Stephanie Howley, SVP of Human Resources at Cohn Wolfe. How are you, Stephanie?
I'm great, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And the reason Stephanie is joining me today is, as part of our Career Guide 2012, we have a feature called it's about the working moms of PR. And Stephanie is a shining example of a working mom who works in PR. And as an HR person, you have a really interesting perspective. So there's some really interesting questions. I'm hoping that you could impart your wisdom on our viewing audience. But I'm going to ask you a really easy question first about, just tell me, how many kids do you have and how old are they?
I have 3 young boys. I keep saying we've only just begun. 5 years old, 2 years old, and 7 months old.
Oh my goodness! So that's by my calculations, that's about 3 jobs I think that you would have. But so you were fairly firmly entrenched in your career when you decided to have your first kid, if I'm not mistaken.
I would say so. It was probably mid-career.
Okay.
I would say.
So that's an interesting time frame to jump in on. In terms of advising women in the industry about when might be the right time to think about having a family, starting a family, what would you tell them?
Very honestly, there's never a great time in your career to have a child, because you're always, if you're passionate about your career, you're always going for that next milestone. So, you know, it got to the point, I was in my early 30s, and I'm like, I have to do this. I know that I'm going to want children. And we went for it 3 times, and we are thrilled. And I feel like I'm very organized enough where I'm able to juggle both, thankfully. Okay,
organization, that must probably be the key word in your life, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, my work life is, everything is on the calendar. My priorities are organized, so I focus on things that are going to have the biggest impact for the company. And home life as well. I mean, I have, as I mentioned to you before, I have my meals, my family's dinner meals planned out through early November with corresponding grocery lists. And honestly, it takes the stress away.
Oh, that's good. And actually, it's a sort of segue into my next question to you, but this could work. Are there anything that you can take from your work life that helps you in home, or vice versa?
My Outlook calendar is my the number one thing that I use for organization. Basically, I have priorities for work. Reminders show up the week before, the day of, and I've done the same thing with my personal life. Basically, the other week I received 2 different school calendars for my 2 oldest sons, and I populated for the entire year on my calendar, sent a calendar invite to my husband so we know where we have to be on what days, and that's been the biggest tool that I use. That's
terrific. Now, one of the reasons I was really excited to talk to you today is because, again, your unique position of being an HR at a PR agency. Now, what are some of the, I'm sure that either working moms already work at Cohn Wolfe or women who are thinking about it, what are some of the topics that women talk to you about when it comes to this really important topic?
It's time and time again, it's the stress of feeling like you're giving enough attention to both. And my advice to people is look for a senior person in your organization that does it well. That's what I did I actually have a number of executive mommy mentors, I would call them. And when I felt like I wasn't, after my second child sort of threw me for a loop, that's when I actively started seeking out people just to get their advice, and picked up great tips.
Such as?
Example, you feel like you have to, basically 5 days a week, I will try to leave at a decent time, get home, have dinner with my family, put the kids to bed, and then I hop on later on to figure out keep work moving. But 1 day a week is usually my one day where I'll stay late just to sort of bang things out with work.
Sure.
So that's one tip.
Well, that's terrific. Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for imparting your vast wisdom on this topic. I know you're probably still learning as you go in a way, but you seem to have everything figured out. And I know I've known you for a few years, actually, and I know you do a fine job here at Cohn Wolfe as well. So you're a fine example. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.